Please patronize our sponsor, who supports the Guild and our mission to educate members and non-members to enjoy and enrich their woodworking skills and experiences. You Pick Hardwood Lumber.
People that I haven't met yet, my name is Bob Coulter. I'm your newly elected president. Thank you for the election. Glad to serve. We'll get rolling with the main kind of businessy part of the program while you're having the cake, and then looking forward to Mike Stoll and a lot of good stuff on planes coming up after that. So thank you. Visitors, new members, please introduce yourself, but wait for the mic. I know we have some new people, new members, new visitors. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Meyer. I'm a new member, and
Great,
I don't even have my name tag yet, but I appreciate these meetings already,
Yeah, great. Thank
even
you.
though it's my first one. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Lynn Hibbard. I was a member here about 30 years ago and got preoccupied with other things besides woodworking, and but now I'm back. So it's great to be here.
Okay, well, glad you're here, whether it's your first meeting or your 100th. Okay, we'll start with outreach. Today at lunch, I met with the chairs of the three main outreach ventures, the monthly toys, Christmas toys, and the tables. They're each going to share about a minute or two of kind of what's happening and what their current needs and interests are. We also cooked up some ideas at lunch that we'll be sharing in the coming weeks into the next newsletter. But for tonight, just a brief update and some ideas of how you can get involved.
My name is Bob Baird, and I'm the chairman of the monthly toy program, not to be confused with the Christmas toy program. And just so you know the difference, the monthly toys go to a certain number of institutions who've expressed an interest in receiving them for their patients or folks who are staying there. Those toys are unfinished. They're sanded very well. The quality is good, but they're not painted. The idea is that the children will take care of that themselves, either in art therapy programs or other activities that they do. I have some kits of some of the more popular items back here, and I have a display of some of the toys that we make, particularly, as Vicki pointed out, the toys that are appropriate for young ladies. And we've always had a shortage there. We seem to build a lot of cars, but we don't make too many rocking horses and wands, but we should, because I think about half of the patients of these organizations are young ladies. So we want to try to meet their need. Tonight we have toys going out to some organizations I'm sure you've never heard of, like Cardinal Glennon, Shriners, St. Louis Children's Hospital, Crisis Nursery in Wentzville, and there are several, and the USO at the airport. So these are organizations you know and love. You've probably interacted with them before on a personal level, and we make an awful lot of kids and parents happy when we make these toys and provide them to the children. So if you're interested in becoming involved in that, please let me know. I'll be here all night. I normally set up over here in the corner, and I can get you started. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, I'm Wayne Humphrey. I'm in charge of the Christmas or holiday toy program, not to be confused with the monthly program. And we build larger toys. We paint those toys. We finish them appropriately. We meet every other Friday out in the shop to build toys, and folks build them at home also. But one of the things, Bob looks for a toy to give to a child, and what we're putting together is a lot of sets. We do an airport diorama that's got 2 airplanes, a helicopter, a helipad, a terminal, and a tower. So we're giving them more of a play set in many cases. than just a single toy. But we started it in COVID. We've donated 7,000 plus toys since then. We're looking at 1,800's our goal this year. We got 1,200 built in inventory already. So we'll be getting involved in getting those completed, building some stuff for the art fair probably, summer camp for the St. Louis County Parks. We'll probably be building some birdhouse kits for that. So we're doing that type of work as well as just toys.
Great. Thanks, Wayne.
I'm Tom Tierney. Excuse me. I'm the coordinator for the outreach table programs, primarily for Home Sweet Home. We did have a good meeting today. Would like you guys to get involved a little more because we know from our experience what a good experience it is. I'm not asking more than 2 or 3 tables a year. No applause? Okay. But seriously, if we can get a table out of you, that's great. It's going to go to a needy family, somebody that will really appreciate it. We do put a sticker on the bottom of all our tables that say, handmade by the St. Louis Woodworkers Guild, which I think is important for the community to understand that there are people out there that, want to contribute and help their day a little better, just like with the kids that get these toys. It takes time, sure. It takes effort, sure. But, you guys have we all have unique talent, and, most people don't have that talent. So kind of use it, and I know you'll get it back, tenfold. So as far as the table program goes, it's going very well for Home Sweet Home. I brought, I think, 6 tables down earlier this week. There were only 4 left today when I brought another table down. So our small portable tables and the small dinette table that we make are ideal for, a pretty good percentage, probably 30% of their clientele. And, you're not going to find that type of furniture in the from the donations. I've seen 6 foot by 6 foot coffee tables donated, and that's not really what the folks need. So we do have couple examples up on the stage of the tables. We have drawings on our website. We have dimensional drawings on our website. We provide the wood. Oftentimes we'll provide the fasteners, and all we need you guys to provide is your time and your talent and your what kids. All right, to help out, and on the back of my truck tonight we have there are only a few left, maybe 6 kits left that members got together. Jay donated oak lumber, rough sawn group came together, took it down into boards, came together again to cut it into table legs, tops, and rails. We assembled them into 25 small table kits like the ones on the stage, and those are available. I have a few on the back of my truck. That's all I have, and we should have additional kits in about 3 weeks or so. But we do have rough sawn lumber that's available in the shed that I know a lot of you guys are capable of taking and producing, one of these tables, and it's really appreciated. I can't stress that enough. It's really appreciated. The kits are good for the beginners, the guys, the people, men and women that aren't, don't have a shop perhaps, and maybe don't feel comfortable cutting the stuff out. But so we're trying to do everything we can to get as many tables as we can down to Home Sweet Home. And any help you guys can give, guys and gals can give, is much appreciated.
Great, thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. And particularly for those of us that are newer, I just did the fundamentals class about 18 months ago, and so I have a shop, but the skills are still working on it. And so it's great to have that kit and reinforce some of the skills from the fundamentals class, and gave Tom 3 today at lunch. So they're not that hard to build, so go for it. My talent, though, was finding a photo that has a kid with a wooden toy and a wooden table in it. Where are the girls? And Vicky's other favorite thing, what else is missing? Yeah. Thank you, ChatGPT, with the images. Anyway, but seriously, all 3 of the outreaches are great chances to engage with the community, build your woodworking skills. Those of you that are veterans, chances to mentor newer woodworkers. So thank you in advance for that. One other piece of outreach that's important, Vicki is one of the leads on that, so she's going to share. We jump to the, yeah.
Mike, you got it on.
I know. Okay, they had to turn it on. I'm not really one of the leads, but I'm speaking on behalf of David Groenfeld, who is our shop manager, but he's also works for Fouts Park for the county. And if you recall, last year, and 2 years now, we've participated in the art fair out at Fouts Park. It was boiling hot last year in August, so they've moved it to September. And we look for donated items that you make. So it can be anything from some toys, it can be cutting boards, it can be charcuterie boards, it can be boxes, it can be, I don't know, chairs, it can be anything you can imagine that might be bought at an art fair. What would you buy? So it's the 5th and 6th of September this year. It's not too early to start making those items. Turners can turn bowls and such. I mean, pens, anything you can imagine. We will be collecting them, and we'll set them up, and we sell them, and all the proceeds go to our community outreach programs. So that's why we need your input, producing the items that we then sell and put the money right back into the guild. So that's my commercial for the art fair. David, anything else you want to add?
I think you covered it, Vicki.
Okay, Dave, thanks.
Do you have volunteers to work?
Well, yes, we will, as time gets closer, probably in July, August, we'll ask for volunteers to work those 2 days. And any other questions about the fair?
I have a question.
Yes, Dave.
Are we participating in both days? Because last year, in the other years, we only did 1 day.
I give up. What's the answer?
I was thinking 1 day.
I think that's the right answer.
Okay.
Saturday. Be there. Be there.
Thanks, Vicki.
Uh-huh.
Moving along. This is mostly in Denny Webb's range as the upcoming classes. This is a list of everything that was on the Guild calendar on the website as of Monday or Tuesday. And I thought the photo was just perfect to lead with a safety class. Seriously, the safety class, it cycles once a month, it appears, and Dave, it's required for shop use, correct?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. President, the safety class is required for shop usage and to take any other classes offered by the Guild. So it really is the first introduction and gateway to all the other activities in the shop.
Yeah, and that cycles once a month. I didn't litter the spread with it, but it cycles once a month.
First Thursday of every month, 6:30 p.m.
Yeah. And then scroll saw, and then beginners and fundamentals and so on. But great opportunity if you've ever priced classes that you can take going elsewhere. They're all quite a bargain, quite an opportunity. So all good. Anything else on program, upcoming courses, Denny? We're good? I don't think so right now. Okay, all good. Thank you. And question and answer time. If you're as baffled as that child, share a question with the group. Somebody will have an answer in the room.
A couple months ago, I asked about removing some construction adhesive from the face of my bricks, and somebody thankfully suggested heat, and that was the most successful thing. And somebody cautioned me about using solvents because the brick would absorb that and may change the color. So thank you to the person who said heat. Thanks to everybody, but it worked. The heat worked pretty well. A little bit of time and a lot of heat.
Good, good. Good to know it worked. Okay. Other questions? Okay. All good, thanks. Next item on the agenda, show and tell.
Hello, my name is John Ferreira, back again. I actually had somebody that wrote to the guild they were donating some elm burl, and this was one of the pieces I had to make in payment for the elm burl. I got to deliver it, but they had a tree service cut them off, and they cut it like right at the tree, so they left no meat on the backside. So I made a little stand for it to sit candles on and stuff. And the bark is held on with the coffee grinds and super glue. And that was elm burl, and this is redbud burl. And
big tree then, was it?
actually, this was about that big around, but I wanted to get that, one burl was probably about that size, and I just wanted to get the burl's top. And it had a ring shake in it, and coffee grinds and CA glue is holding that together, so what would have been in the fire ended up being turning.
Thank you. Okay, that takes care of the core business meeting. On to our guest speaker. Mike Stoll has been an important part of my journey as a woodworker. Smart, talented, one of the nicest people you're going to meet. Sign up for his classes if you haven't, and I can say that now because I've signed up for them and I don't have to fight you to get into them. But seriously, he's been a great resource for me. He turned me on to it. Was a 1940s Stanley plane that's been my go-to and helped me to restore it, and a lot of good learning there. So, Mike, all yours.
Bob, thank you very much for that. No pressure. Really appreciate that. You know, for many, my wife went to the University of Kansas, which, you know, is a bummer. I know, Vicki, I knew you were one of those. I've tried to for many years. And we try and get up there. She went to architecture school like Vicki, so we try and get up there every few years to watch a basketball game. As a Mizzou guy, I hate to say it, but it is kind of a cool place to go and watch a game. It's like in baseball, if you go to Fenway or Wrigley, really cool place. And of course, every time we go up there, we have to pop into the architecture school. She's got to see some of her old professors and people like that. And it's been a few years now, but the last time we went up, we went through, saw a couple teachers, and we're walking out, and she looked at me and she's like, "Did you notice something missing in there?" And I thought about it for a second, and I was like, "No." And she's like, "There's no drafting tables in there." I was like, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah." So, I mean, we're in our 40s. She learned, you know, on AutoCAD. She learned, you know, computers. Now they have Revit, a few other softwares. But she learned to draw. She learned to do things by hand, and then they would, of course, bring it into AutoCAD and do things like that. So she wasn't exactly happy about that. And, you know, she feels, I think, in like what's happening in many industries, everything is going really heavily towards, you know, AI, tools, you know, everything like that. And that's great, but I think you lose something when you don't start with the basics, when you're not starting with, in architecture, drawing out a building. And I think there's corollaries with woodworking, too. I'm not one of those guys, like I love those guys up in Colonial Williamsburg, the guys at the hay shop, you know, who wear the frilly shirts and I'm not like that at all. I don't sit around and stoke a fire. I do use power tools. I love it. But I think there's a place in the shop for hand tools. I use you know, I call it Bertha, you know, the big jointer up in the shop, the big 12-inch jointer. It's great. But she's been down sometimes. So it's nice to know how to flatten a board if you're in the middle of a project. I would love, I don't know any of you who really love to sand. I mean, I hate sanding. If I can, plane a board and the grain and everything is cooperating, I would love to go straight from planing to finishing. So there's a lot of uses for hand planes. Again, I'm not, in a dark shop with no electric outlets or anything like that. But again, I think there's ample room for hand planes. So I've been doing a class for a couple of years on just kind of the basics of it, going through how to use them, what they are, and where they really fit in. And so you'll see up here a lot of different options. And what I'm just going to do is I'm going to go through a few boards, kind of show you how I work with them, what they can do. And I'll preface it by saying one thing. I mean, I sharpened all these in the last week or so, and I sharpen them pretty regularly. So without these being sharp, they're really just expensive paperweights. So, I mean, we're not going to go through that tonight, but I always like to say that. I mean, it's important to be really sharp. Otherwise, you're just not going to get good results. And then, you're going to poo-poo hand planes and say, oh, they suck. They're no fun to work with. But it's no fun to work with something that's not sharp. So if you get them sharp, they're awesome to work with. And the way I've kind of got this broken out is there's two types of planes. There's the bench planes, which are creatively called so because they're found typically on the bench the most. They're the normal planes, a smoothing plane, a jack plane, and a joiner plane are typically your bench planes. And then there's joinery planes. There's tongue and groove planes, there's plow planes, there's spoke shaves, there's the router plane, there's a shooting plane, things like that really help you dial in. You can do all the joinery with them, or you can do kind of rough joinery on the table saw or the bandsaw, and then, like I'm going to show you, really fine tune it. So I'm going to move off the joinery planes. And this board right here, again, if Bertha is down and you can't get a flat face, I mean, you probably can't see it under here, but there's some daylight under this, so it's got some cup to it. And like I said, if the big joiner isn't working and it hasn't on occasion in the past, when we're waiting for a part or something, or if you just can't make it up there, it's kind of nice to be able to work with your plane and very quickly get it flat. So I'm just going to show you how I would get this board flat and reasonably true and smooth and ready to work, like for whether it's a dining or a end table or a bookshelf or something like that. So the first thing, what I would do is I'm going to try and flatten this, and I'm going to go across it and try and get, like I said, there's that cup in there. So this is the concave side, so it's kind of going like this. So I'm going to try and take my jack plane, which is set really rough, and I'm just going to really hog off as much waste as I can to try and make it so when I put the ruler down, the straight edge down, there's no daylight between it. So, and it goes really quick. It's, you can take some pretty heavy shavings, and you'll notice these aren't like what you would get with a smoothing plane. And I'm just hitting the high spots right now, and I can go even heavier, really. And man overboard. And I could probably go a little heavier. Thankfully, that wasn't a plane, just a board. And I'm almost all the way across, like just in a few passes. It is. It's the original. It's probably a 100-year-old blade, but I have a huge camber on it. So that's the other thing. Like when you're sharpening, with the jack plane, if you're going to do this and really try and flatten and remove a lot of material, you want to introduce like a big camber on your blade. So I have no exact number. It's just round, so that allows you to get through the grains, the cross grain, because you're going to, with the grain, it's much easier. You're going into the grain, and that rounded, cambered plane blade will allow you to get through, and that's what allows you to get those really rough shavings and get all the way through. And ideally, yeah, I mean, there's still just barely a little daylight, but it's by and large, for all intents and purposes, this guy is now, after that should be, yeah, it's really, I mean, it's, for all intents and purposes, there's no daylight coming under that because I've hit the 2 high spots, so they've really come down. And then once you're getting all the way across, that means you've really flattened it. And so the next thing you would go to is a joiner plane, which is, you know, like a 7 or an 8, like in Stanley speak. It's getting warm. And so you've got it, basically, you've removed the material, so you've taken it from being concave, and you've flattened it down. But now you want to remove those, you know, across the docks that you created by going across. And this guy is going to really get this to be flat. So this, I just removed material to get the curve out of it. And the joiner plane is really what's going to allow you to get this to be really flat. And then it's not going to take really many passes on this guy before that is almost workable. And you're going to skip a little bit because of a worked across grain. But in just a second, start to get full-length shavings. Big cut. Yeah, it's a little heavy. That's better. And then pretty much right. And this makes great fire kindling, by the way. If you're ever outside and you want to get a fire started, I mean, this stuff just lights right up. So this is, I mean, really nice. No daylight. I've taken those tracks that were from across. Totally out. And it's pretty, I mean, it's not ready for finish or anything. It's not that smooth, but it's taken out all of those tracks that I created by using the joiner plane. So this one also has a little bit of a camber to it, but it's not nearly as much as this guy. Because what happens, and same with the smoothing plane, I put like a little camber on it because if you have the blade totally straight, you're going to get plane tracks, which is basically if you took like a, you know, you've got the edge of your, if that's the blade, it's straight like that, the edges are just going to dig in. So unless you kind of round over the edges a little bit, you're going to get these really nice lines that will just be like, once you put oil on it, it'll be like that spotlight on it, like, look at me, you know, and then that goes, you know, without even saying, then you're going to feel it too. It's going to be these, it's like someone took a golf tee or a little pointed metal thing and went right through it. So the joiner got us pretty much down to the level we want, and then that's for thicknessing. This got us pretty flat, and then the smoothing plane, which is, again, in Stanley speak, like a 3 or 4, 4.5, somewhere in there, that's going to get you really nice and smooth. And I mean, in some cases, like I said, you may not eliminate the need to use the sander, an orbital sander or whatever, but if the wood is really cooperating, I mean, there's many times where I'll just go, and this board is a good example. I was kind of shocked. It's curly cherry, and a lot of times it's not all that cooperative, but it planed great. I mean, I would finish this right now, and that I just planed that this morning. But like I said, I hate sanding, I think you should have your head examined if you say, oh, I love sanding, it's so fun. I would love to, like I said, just go straight from a hand plane to finishing, but that's not always the case. But the good thing is, if you get a little tear out, if you get a little localized, you know, like I said, tear out here and there, if the grain's not cooperating, you can just scrape it, and then instead of starting with like 80 or 100 grit sandpaper, you can maybe start at 180 or 200, somewhere in there, because most of the rest of the surface was already pretty smooth. So this should hopefully catch nice. And the thing with the smoothing plane is you just want to have really nice, thin, should really not be digging too heavy on it. And that's coming really nice. And I'll be honest, I mean, that even sounds sharp too. I mean, it should be making that. You shouldn't really have to be struggling, pushing, especially with the smoothing plane. I mean, I had the jack plane set a little too heavy. Those shavings were a little thick, but with a smoothing plane, you really do not want to be, I mean, you could almost have like translucent, and they can be really thin like that. And it's really, there's no plane tracks, there's no tear out or anything. So I mean, it's a pine board. It's not like I'm going to put oil finish on pine, but it shows you sort of the opportunity that you have, again, vis-a-vis the machines and sanding and everything. I mean, if you don't have a big shop, if you can't get up to the guild shop, like I said, if some of the tools are sometimes down, which can happen, it's kind of nice, I think, to be able to do some of these things by hand. Yeah.
Is that a York pitch?
That's like a 50 degree or 47 or something. So no, it's a standard 45. Okay. So all my bench planes are at a standard 45. I wasn't really going to get into it because it's like a whole nother thing, but I do have a low angle jack, and that's a completely different philosophy on the different angles. I mean, it's bedded at 12 degrees. I've got it sharpened it's a 38 degree primary bevel. I've got it sharpened at 40 degrees. So it's basically 52 degrees. And I use that, like I said, when I'm in some kind of figured, not all that figured, but if the wood's not cooperating, like walnut or cherry, it's a little bit figured. That higher angle, it's higher than 45 degrees, it is better for dealing with the more difficult woods like that, or like a curly maple or something. So yeah, it's not, this is 45 degrees, that's 45, that's 45. I didn't get any special frogs and put those in. Yeah, that's why I got the low angle jack, just because you can just change the blades, you can sharpen the blades at different angles, and then you kind of get that different pitch. So that is really part and parcel of the bench planes. They make a mess. They're great for fire kindling. But now I want to talk about some of the joinery planes, because they're really fun. Again, I mean, I'm not saying they will completely take the place of a router or any of the other machines you want to use, but again, if you've got a small shop and you don't have the electric, 220 or anything like that for like a big joiner, or some of the bigger band saws or table saws, then some of these planes can really help you out. Yeah.
You ever use a Japanese plane?
It's some of the conference like Handworks or somewhere like that. I don't own any. I have a couple Japanese saws, but I do not have any Japanese planes. I know there might be someone in here who's used them a lot. I know that some of the metal is steel that they use. It's like they combine the metals, and there's something with the sharpening that's a little different. So I have Japanese stones, but I've never used in my own shop a Japanese plane. They're beautiful. They seem like they function awesome. But I've just kind of stuck with the traditional ones. But yeah, I can't really speak to that. So then for the joinery planes, again, I mean, we've got that at least one side, and that's the thing. So with the jointer, like again, the big 12-inch joiner up in the shop is 500-600 pounds. It runs on 220 voltage. It's probably $5 or $6 grand. That gets you one face flat. But then the flip side, so we did this one side. The flip side is, you would run it through a planer. A planer is a pretty inexpensive and approachable tool to get. You can get, the DeWalt's even without a helical head at Lowe's for a few $100. And so, again, say the joiner up at the shop was down, or you don't have access to one. if you can get one side flat, flip it over, and now you're running it through the joiner, which I do all the time, and now you can thickness it, get the other side parallel, and get it down to 1/2 inch or 3/8 or whatever you need. But again, I think it's not bad to know how to do that. And then one of the other joinery planes I really like if you're, say you were gonna make this a end table or something for your living room or something, and it wasn't quite wide enough, you had to laminate a couple boards or 3 boards or whatever, and just getting that nice tight glue line is just paramount. And so this guy is a really good joinery plane. It's basically just an edge plane. It's from Lee Nielsen, but Veritas makes it, everything that Lee Nielsen makes was a Stanley. So I know there's Stanleys of these from, I'm not sure what number they go by, but there's edge planes like that. And this will just give you, I was working on that side, so that would be a true face. So this is just awesome because it'll just give you a really 90-degree, because it's got a fence, and so it's riding along that face that I just flattened and have nice and true. And so I'm going to get a nice 90-degree edge to that face. And so, like I said, I could do this all night. It's so fun. And it's, so, again, if I didn't bring a second board, but I mean, if I do that to the other board, I mean, you're going to put them together, and it's just going to be no daylight. You'll be able to put glue on it, put them in the clamps, and you're going to have a really nice, tight glue line. So that's a joinery plane that I always really go to, because like I said, it just makes sure that you've got a nice, tight glue line, and your table's going to be seen. That's what you see is the tabletop. So having a nice, tight glue line is really, really good. The other, even though it's kind of more of a bench plane, I probably should have done that already. The block planes, this is probably the most accessible plane probably to any, especially if you're just mostly using tools. I mean, just having this or the even smaller one, I mean, they're just great. I love it. I mean, so you take a board off the table saw and it's like just sharp. I've cut myself all the time just on the edges of the boards. I mean, you can just really round over the edges. Get the edges really nice and easy, you can go across. I mean, just, it's really nice to have. So, I mean, if I was going to recommend one plane to someone who mostly has machines in their shop, I mean, it'd be a block plane, because you can do the end grain of it. You can flip it on its edge and, clean up some of the machine marks. If there's no staple in the end, avoid that. But it's just really a very nice tool to have, fits in your hand really nice, and it's one of those planes that if you're going to invest in one, you can find older Stanleys for $20, and the steel and the blades are, they're awesome. I love the old O2 blades. They sharpen really easily, so they're forgiving, and they get just like razor sharp. So that's the block planes. And another joinery plane is, kind of a joinery plane. This is one other thing that I think is really important, is a shooting plane. But it's not really, you can turn a bench plane into a shooting plane. But when you shoot a board, especially if you're doing like drawer fronts or something like that, you want a really precise fit. I mean, this is a hill I'll definitely die on, is the precision that you're going to get from this is you're just not going to match with the miter saw or chop saw or table saw, at least not safely. But also, I just don't think it's even possible. I mean, to take 1/1000th of an inch off with this of this guy, if I just need to get it a little bit shorter, and I mean, you see the shavings coming off. I mean, they're basically translucent. They just fall apart. So I mean, you're able to square up a part so easily, and then again, you can cut the tenon, you can put this into your drawer, you can put it in the side, for a drawer runner to really kind of dial in that fit. So, and I was talking to someone earlier, I mean, this is just a normal Stanley number 7, and I found a small batch maker, this guy who was like, I'm not going to spend $600 on a Veritas or Lee Nielsen shooting plane, as great as they are. And he came up with this attachment where you can just take the original handle, which is all this is, and you basically flip it around, and now you can just have it on its end and not have to really hurt your hands, and especially if you have arthritis or something. So that's a really useful tool to have, and this is one of the classes I do. We build a bunch of different hand plane appliances, and the shooting board is like, top of the list. I mean, that's the other thing I would just suggest to anyone who really is mostly working off of the bandsaw and the table saw. I mean, you can really dial something in with just $5 or $10 in scrap wood and really get pretty precise cuts with something like this. When you get to, this is probably my favorite plane. I really, really like this guy, the router plane. I know it'll be blasphemous, but I don't like routers because they scare me. That they're just really loud, and I feel like they want to kill me. And I just feel like it's going to work its way out of the collet and fly into my forehead or something like that. So I just like using the router plane. And my sales pitch on the router plane is like, so I cut this. So say you're building a table, and this is the apron. It's obviously a short apron, but I cut it on purpose. But it's pretty easy to do. It's just it's too fat. I mean, if I tried pounding this in, I'm going to destroy that mortise. It's just going to explode. So fingers crossed, I've got the blade set at the right depth. The cool thing about the router plane is, so I'm registering off the apron itself. It's flat, and then this flat, and I've got the blade just protruding what I think is just enough to, I'm going to just go a little bit less. And I'm just going to take off just a little.
Can you take off the shooting plane?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, so you guys can see, yeah. Yeah, no problem. So it's basically just riding on this. I've got the, I think that's a 1/4 inch off, so I'm just going to just a little. And the thing that's great is it's all, I mean, you could use, sandpaper, you could use a rasp or something, but then you risk kind of bowing, curling it over and just not having a, this is machined perfectly flat. I've got this flat, and so and I'm kind of bearing all my pressure on that. So I don't know if I took off enough or not, but we'll find out. Ooh, almost. It just needs, but that's the thing. I can take off just a bit more, and hopefully we'll have a good fit. That's not enough. All right, let's see if that'll work. No, but I'd rather be taking little bits than too much because you can't put it back. I've tried, I really have. Yeah, take some of the shavings, glue them back on, and I know it's like, gosh darn it. No, that's still going to be a little tight. That would blow it out probably. All right, but I'm going to just crank that. I probably got a little impatient. That might be a little bit too much, but we'll see. Yeah, by and large, little. So, so that's the thing. I mean, originally that would have blown that out, and 30 seconds later, I mean, you can really dial it in. I mean, it's easy to do. You're trying to cut a tendon on the bandsaw or the table saw. You get a little cautious. You don't want to cut too much, and then it's like, oh crap, it's not going to fit, and now you really are stuck. I mean, it's like you've got to remove like a 32nd of an inch. I mean, it's like good luck doing that on the table saw or the bandsaw. So I mean, that's where the router plane really shines. Another place I really like using it is if you ever build bookshelves or chests of drawers and you have dados in the side, and you want to have the shelves kind of be dadoed into the side. You know, again, I mean, you can use a router, that's great, regular router, and cut it, but say you're like, oh, it's still not quite deep enough, the dado, that is. Or, you know, some people, and I'll do it on occasion if I don't, just you're making one of them, I'll saw it out and then chisel out the waste, and you get it down to a certain level, and then this is great to it'll ride on both sides of the dado, and it just cleans out that dado, and you get a nice flat bottom, and then the shelf gets in there really nice. You've got a really nice glue line, and you really don't even have to nail it in from the side. So this is where this guy really shines. You know, the shoulder plane is sort of a competitor to it. I mean, I could have probably, you know, trimmed, you know, this. It's really, the shoulder plane gets its name from the shoulders. I mean, you're going to, by and large, do that. This is too big for this smaller tenon. But a lot of people like using the shoulder plane on their tenons. I'm just not as big on that because I don't feel like I've got the level of control as I do with the router plane. So I'm not using this guy as much anymore, but I do like it. If you're ever doing rabbets along the edge of like a case or carcass or something, that's actually where this is great because it'll just sit right in that, and you can kind of go down because the blade, you know, it goes from edge to edge. So it's really nice. So it's not like, you know, the block plane where it's going to stop. You're going to get the whole width of that rabbet that you've cut. And this one, yeah, so this is, well, this is the medium, but there is a larger one. There's a larger one, and then I do have a smaller one at home that's probably like half that size. And it is nice. I mean, like I said, if you're doing a little bit like breadboard ends on a table or something, this is great. Like I said, for the rabbets along the edge of, if you're kind of doing shiplap or something, it's great. It really is because it's sharp as heck. It protrudes all the way to the edges. I forgot with the router plane, so that's for larger work. I've got its little brother here, and this is great. Like if you're making boxes, again, I mean, it's me. It may be blasphemous to say, but I don't like the routers. They're just I'm you know, the noise, the fear, then that's on me. But it's also like for this guy's great for like when you're making boxes. Like so when you're setting hinges, it's just so small. It's easy to get in there, and you're just taking off light passes. So when you set those hinges in, you can just really sneak up on a perfect fit and not have to worry about, you know, again, the bit, you know, diving into the wrong part of the grain and just tearing the crap out of your box. So that's what's nice about this. It's kind of a one-trick pony. You're not going to use it on a large tenon or something, but it is really good. Like if you're making boxes and smaller things like that where you need to insert, you know, hardware like hinges or something like that. So, and these are both Veritas's router planes. This one's my favorite joinery plane to use. It comes together really cool. It's a tongue and groove plane, and again, not being a router fan, you can really put together a tongue and groove joint. So like say you're making a carcass or a box or something, so like bottom of a box or the back of a chest of drawers or something like that. So, you know, you've got a lot of traditional furniture will have the tongue and groove joint. So, you know, I mean, I saw someone up at the shop a few weeks ago spend almost a half hour setting up his cut to make a tongue and groove, just getting everything really right, really precise. You know, ideally, this will go equally well, but so this is Lee Nielsen. Again, everything they do is based on old Stanleys. I don't know what Stanley number it was. They used to have a tongue and groove. Those were 40, yeah, so Stanleys were 48 and 49? Because that's what these are too, a 48 and 49. So I guess you kept the same numbers. So it's got like a pin, it's got the fence here, and the fence moves. So, and you can see the blade, it's got two, it's like a tongue here. So when the blade is in one right here, so then that's going to cut the groove because it's only one showing. And then when I flip it around, is that not showing up on there? Okay, sorry. Oh, shit.
It's like that camera down there. It's at the
Oh, yeah. So you will, that, oh, it's on that? Okay. Okay. So that, if you can, it's just kind of cool how they machined it. I love showing it to people. I'm a dork. But you can see the two right here. So that's going to cut the tongue. So, you know, ideally, and you always want to reference the fence off the same sides. So ideally, this will go pretty good. All right, so I'm doing the groove. I'm going to do the groove first. And then it'll bottom out because it's got a depth stop. So it's just about done. Also really good fire kindling. Let's see here. And now I'm going to flip it around. And then this will do the tongue on the tongue and groove. So sometimes if the board's just a little bit too thick, you have like that little thing to knock off. And then, ideally, so kind of nice. You don't have to have the loud propeller coming at you thinking you're going to get killed or bludgeoned, but it's kind of nice. I mean, again, if you're a big cabinet shop, I'm not suggesting you do that. It's crazy, but for one-off projects, it's kind of fun. So, and plus, again, you don't have to hear that loud router going. The last one, this is a really cool one. This is from Veritas. Everything they make is awesome. And if you're making, it's a plow plane, so you can just plow grooves. This plows grooves. I mean, it's when it's on the single one, it does the groove, and it's a 1/4-inch groove, but it's set in one place. The fence is fixed, so I mean, it's ideally on a, so this guy's the 49, the larger one, and so it works on 3/4-inch wood, so it's gonna center on a 3/4-inch piece of wood. This one's got a movable fence, so you can basically put that plow anywhere you want, because the fence is movable. And so like, I like doing this when I'm making frame and panel doors, you know, just on like a cabinet or something. I'm just gonna shoot that. I mean, it's center-ish. And again, I mean, it's got a fence and it's gonna have a depth stop on it as well. I've got it set for maybe 3/8 of an inch or so. And then that bottoms out. You got fire kindling, and you've got a rail or stile. And then, if you're obviously, you know, going to put the mortise in, if this is the stile, you're going to make a mortise in here the same width, so it'd be a 1/4-inch mortise that would go in there, and then you put the rail in there, and so forth. So, again, I mean, I have a router. I'll use it on occasion. I just prefer to use these when I have to, because again, don't want to get a router bit embedded in my face. So that's really what I wanted to communicate. Those are, I mean, just there's a lot of fun planes. I think there's a lot of mystique to them, and if I can learn them, you know, I'll still never forget Brad and Mike Sistek and Dave Gronfield. When I took my first class like 10 years ago, I had never held a hand plane, and Brad was nice enough to let me use his, and I was hooked ever since then. And they were good enough to show me, and I've just been at it for, you know, a while now. So I do a class every couple times a year on hand planes, and then I'll do sharpening and stuff like that. But I just, you know, Bob asked me after the last class if I would just kind of get up and demo this just for people to see how approachable it is. And hopefully that was helpful. Like I said, I'll do another couple, at least one class later this year. But, you know, that's all I've got unless you guys have any questions or anything like that. So, yeah.
Where would be a good place to look for old Stanley planes?
Yeah, so I definitely, old planes are the best way to go. Stanley, I just declared bankruptcy for like the second time in 3 years, a week or two ago. So the new ones, I'm just not, I wouldn't touch with a 10-yard stick. There's one company, I bought this guy. This is 110 or 112 years old now. I put a Veritas PMB 11 blade in it. But I got this from Jim Bodie, which is a really reputable site. I mean, he sells collectibles, and there's some really high-end, expensive stuff that he has. But I mean, this was like $80, and it's a mint. I mean, it's rosewood. It's a mint number 3, and the original blade was great too. I used that for years. I just was sharpening it so often. The old O2 steel, which I love, takes a wicked edge, but it's just a little softer. So if you're using it a lot, you just need to sharpen more often. Whereas Veritas's new steel is kind of easy to sharpen, but it holds an edge longer, in my opinion. I think a lot of people agree. So Jim Bodie's a good one. You know, I haven't been to one, but the Missouri Tool Collectors Association, that's, you know, they're all throughout the Midwest, and they have swap meets and stuff. I've seen people do blog posts and show all the different tables that, I mean, hundreds of planes and really reasonable. So I think that's a good place to go. And you know, obviously your estate sales and stuff like that. But Jim Bodie's really good. I've dealt with him on half a dozen probably purchases, if not more. So I would go there because the older Stanleys, and his are all, if they're not collectors, they're still, you know, workhorses. They're in great shape, no rust, and that's probably what you're after. So yeah.
There's 2 or 3 different nationwide online auctions that hold periodic auctions. One of them is based very close to here.
Yeah, I've heard of that one. Just Plain Fun, right? Or what's that called? Or Great Plains, yeah. Great Plains, yeah.
June 13th is the next one. But
Okay.
you can, that Plains, Planes.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, would you please explain how you sharpen the blade so that it doesn't dig in?
Yeah, how I sharpen it?
Well, how do you make it so that it doesn't
yeah.
dig in?
So when you're sharpening it, I mean, if you've got, you know, your blade, and I use a honing jig. I mean, if you were just, you know, sharpening like that over your stones, whether they're diamond or Japanese stones, whatever, you're just going to sharpen a straight bevel, right? Well, and all that's going to do is these edges are going to be really sharp. So what I do is you camber it, and so what I'll do is I'll put like maybe 15 or 18 poles on the very left side, 15 or 18 poles on the very right side. Right, not quite center, but just off of center, do about 10 or 11 poles. Then just off of right center, 10 or 11 poles. And then on the center, 7 or 8. So what you're doing is you're sharpening more on the edge, so you're eliminating the edges, and you're creating that camber. So like with the jack plane, I mean, it's a much bigger camber. So I would do like 20 poles on each side, and then 3 or 4 poles, because I want a much bigger radius. But that's for a different function. That's going against the grain and through the fibers. So I want a heavier cut, which is, with this, I just want a slight camber, so the edges will stay out of the way, and I can just get a really nice, smooth, clean finish. So it's just, and it's, you know, trial and error. You know, you can do it on a grinder or not a grinder, but on the what's the water cooled one? The Tormac. I mean, you can do that. I mean, but all it is, you're just manipulating the blade to just give it a little bit of a camber or a circle is all. Yeah. Yeah.
So what percentage of your time do you spend touching?
All of it.
Nah, no. I would. I mean, I just sharpen when I need to. I mean, again, I mean, it's. I think if you're thinking in terms of like a production shop where it's like, oh, I'm putting out, 50 pieces a month or something. Yeah, I mean, I'd be sharpening a lot, but I do a decent amount of building, and I just when I've got a nice piece of cherry or something on the bench, it's like. I'm gonna, even if I probably sharpen on the previous project and I feel like it's in good shape, I'm gonna sharpen again. But it's really quick. It literally takes 2 or 3 minutes to get a slight burr on the back and polish it, and then I'm back to it. So it's I've got a table that's out, an old butcher block, and it's out with my stones, and that way it's not like, oh crap, I got to pull it out and do all that. It's there. I can sharpen and clean things up. It's off to the side and then back to the bench. So it's not that onerous. I don't think it's onerous at all, actually. So yeah. It's
a lot easier to keep it sharp than to make it sharp.
Yeah, exactly. Do it, and that's so true. Just a little bit every time is,
I have an older Stanley plane. I don't. It's not old. I've had it for 30 years, so it's a newer plane. But anyway, it's been in my possession for a while.
Yeah.
But it's got one of those camber type snap shut deals on the plate that holds it down. And you were using that adjust wheel for depth while you were just spinning right through there. And I've never done that. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
I thought you had to release that camber
No.
to adjust the depth.
No, I mean, if you've got this, you mean this right here?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you've got this screw tightened down so tight that you can't move that, the screw is too tight. It needs to be tight enough to hold the cap iron down, but not so tight that you can't adjust the wheel, the brass wheel back here, because that's what makes it moves the blade in and out, retracts it.
Exactly. I've never had any training. I need to go to your class.
No, that's cool.
Just a quick question. You went through all the basic planes. How do you feel about like the multi-planes, like the Stanley 45, 50, or 55?
I'll be honest. I've used one up that big hand tool one, Handworks up in Amana, Iowa once. I don't have one. The only ones those just seem to be more collectible, and so therefore the price is just super high. And there's, I think it's a great idea in principle. I mean, so I can't give an opinion. I've read people I know and people I've read. There's people that are like, yeah, the 45 is awesome, it's great, and then there's some people that are like, well, it's kind of a jack of all trades and master of none. So it's, I guess it just depends on kind of if what you're looking for, because it can plow grooves, it can do fluting, it can do, I mean, just everything. So which means you've got a lot of different blades and components. So that being said, I've never used one in my shop. I've used one just as a demo, and I was like, wow, that's cool. Veritas actually has one kind of a knockoff. You can do plowing, you can do fluting, you can do all these different things with it. But again, I don't own one. So I think it's a great idea in principle. I do.
My experience from them is basically that they're a lot of fun to set up and play, and they can do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the Swiss pocket knife you have.
Right.
It doesn't really do any of those functions as good as the tool that was made to do
Exactly.
it. So.
Like I said, jack of all trades, master of none. I mean, I think it's an awesome tool, but the thing with the 45 is they're so expensive. Like even for an average one, it's like all I see is like $400 or $500. I'm like, whoa, that's expensive. So.
Mike Ernest, that's Great Plains Trading Company, basically.
Oh yeah, the Great Plains.
Yeah, and he took care of all of Wayne Watson's stuff.
I know.
When we got rid of all of his stuff.
Yep.
Anything that, I got a few of the remnants and stuff, but Mike took care of getting rid of all that in 3 batches.
Yeah.
That doesn't count the full collection he had that he sold off first, or what he sold Cystic.
Everything he had was top notch. That was amazing.
But like I say, he's in Ferguson, Great Plains Trading Company.
Great Plains is the auction house where you can get a lot of good old tools. I think Eric had a, oh yeah.
Could you comment on the pros, cons, or usages of variable throat planes and or variegated plate planes?
So in terms of moving the throat open or closed, so I mean, it's like on a jack plane, the shavings I was getting, these really thick ones, I mean, that's where I move the frog all the way back, and so it opens up it doesn't have a movable mouth. It can adjust the mouth, which will allow the depth of cut to be either allow thicker shavings through or really fine shavings. So, for a smoothing plane, which I have this set up as, I have the mouth as tight as possible, just because that's what you would want with when you're going to be smoothing. If I was going to be using this, like I was doing in removing material, I would open the mouth up way more, because you've got these thick shavings that need to come through. So, that's, the smoothing planes have a much tighter mouth, and the jack planes and joiner planes, they're going to have it open more to allow for thicker shavings to come through. So, this guy, I keep this is also has a movable mouth. I can adjust it in or out for heavier cuts or lighter cuts. I just kind of keep it pretty tight, just because I'm usually rounding over edges and creating chamfers and things like that. So I want to have a nice, it's going to cut nicer and sharper when the mouth is tighter than when it's open, because you're going to get the big shavings and you don't have as much holding down the fibers in front of it. So, and what was the other plane you asked? What's that? Oh, this? Yeah, the core. Yeah, core. Yeah. I can't even comment. If I didn't know that it had these grooves on it on the bottom, I wouldn't have even known. I've read again. I've only read. I didn't buy this because it had them. It happened to have it. I got it from one of the guys in the guild like 10 years ago. Stanley, I think, said it allegedly decreases friction and stuff like that, and it's going to make you plane better. It was like marketing in the 1950s. I don't notice a difference. I know some of the planes have them and some don't. And like I said, I can't tell a difference. I don't think it really makes a difference. I think all it does is just kind of delineates, from what era it is, and I think this is probably from the 40s or 50s. So, but it doesn't make an appreciable difference. Going over the wood, it's not like less friction, easier to plane or anything like that. So, well, when you're buying a plane, I look at it from there's two choices. You're going to have either spend a lot or not, or you're going to get a really, really ready-made plane or not. And there's really not a lot in between. So it depends what you're willing to give up. If you've got time and you don't want to spend money, there's tons. You can get a lot of good planes out there, but you're going to have to put some work into it and know how to take the plane apart, oil it, sharpen it, get the pitting out and stuff like that. If you don't have a lot of time and you're chasing after kids or grandkids and you have a few dollars to spare, you're not going to have to do anything if you get it from Lee Nielsen or Veritas, or frankly, even like I mentioned, Jim Bodie. He's going to charge you more for a used plane, but there's really not going to be any work that you're going to have to do. It'll come, with the blade will be lapped, the sole will be flat. So again, I think it just depends on, again, if you've got I look at it, buy once, cry once. I'm never going to buy another block plane again. But again, if I had more time and I was like, all right, I'll just get an older Stanley that's maybe, a lot less expensive, and I'll take the time to fix it up. So it just depends on what your priority is, what you have in your back pocket and what you have on your wristwatch. I think those are the two, for me, those are the two functions. I can't recommend Lee Nielsen or Veritas enough. They're great, but there's a lot of other smaller bespoke tool companies out there that if you just look like for hand plane makers, there's Blue Spruce, we're in a real renaissance right now. It's not just Lee Nielsen and Veritas, they kind of paved the way, but there's a lot of other people doing small batch, like, the dude in his garage up in New York, who came up with this attachment for planes, so you could not destroy your wrists and knuckles when you're trying to shoot a board. I mean, it's a great, he's just a little bespoke tool maker up in upstate New York. So, yeah.
I have an old hand plane I got from a garage sale and bought a replacement blade, but it's a little bit too thick, and so when you go to adjust it, you got like a workaround where you can make that.
So have you moved the frog all the way back?
I've tried. I think it's just too thick.
Okay, because I did that. So I've got an aftermarket blade too. It's a Veritas. I did the same thing with this guy. So it's a much thicker blade than the original. I was fortunate. I moved the frog all the way back, and it's just right. I mean, it's any more than I would have had to do. What you would then need to do, it sounds like, is take a mill bastard file and file the front. Try stay as square as you can, but you just need to file open the mouth just a little bit. If you've got the frog all the way back, you got to file right here, because I thought that's what I was going to have to do, and I got lucky and didn't.
You want to open the front side, not the frog side.
Yeah, right, the front.
No, the front, not the frog side, the front of
Right. So yeah, exactly. Not the yeah.
You don't want to open the frog side.
No, definitely not. So it's it's nerve-wracking, but there's a million videos out there. But I think that if you've got the frog moved as far back as it can go, and it's still in there, and it's not it's still too thick, that's probably your only option. But it's the steel on these is really soft. It doesn't take much, and like I said, lots of videos, and you just want to be careful and try and stay as square, keep that opening square so it doesn't get kind of out of kilter.
What about just thinning the blade steel itself down, on a flat grind?
I don't know about that. I mean, if you bought an aftermarket blade, I don't know if I would mess with that. I guess you could try. I don't know that I would do that. I think that the easier option is
It's easier to open the throat than it is to thin the blade.
Exactly. I mean, it's because especially if you drop like $80 or $100 on a new blade, it's like, man, because that's the new blade is probably worth more than the plane itself. Frankly, I would be willing to bet, depending on what aftermarket blade you got. So, yeah.
What do you treat your planes with before you put them back in storage?
I just use this camellia oil and this rag. I mean, I just wipe it down, and I mean, I'm pretty fortunate. I mean, I'm not in the garage or anything, so I mean, I'm in the house, so it's whatever it's 50. I don't know what, but I don't. I've once or twice had a little surface rust, but if I've kind of got lazy with that or lackadaisical, but I just try and take a paintbrush and I'll just clean out all the dust and all the plane shavings and then wipe it down and just put it back on the shelf, and it's been pretty good to go. Haven't really had any rust issues. So, but this stuff is you can just soak your rag. It's not going to be flammable or anything, and it's just a light. It's called camellia oil. You can get it at Highland Woodworking or at Lee Nielsen or any of those for like $5. But it's good to wipe it down and just keeps it lubricated and keeps it from rusting. So, yeah.
You talked about spoke shave.
Oh yeah.
Earlier.
Yeah.
How do you? Please demonstrate. But also, how do you sharpen those? I find them particularly difficult because they're so short.
Yeah. So again, Veritas has I think they make the best spoke shave. They have an attachment that you can. It's a small blade sharpening or a honing thing. So it's basically just and there's videos where you can just make your own. All it is the blade for a spoke shave is really really small. So if you're, and I don't have my honing guide with me, but if you guys know what a honing guide, this isn't going to just go into a honing guide on it in and of itself. And so what you do is you can just cut a groove in the end of a piece of wood, thin piece of wood, and stick it in there. And I've seen videos where people do that, and then it'll fit into your honing guide. I think I spent like $8 or $10 on a aftermarket thing from Veritas where it's a magnet, rare earth magnet and some metal, and then it fits into my honing guide. So it mimics basically not quite the length of a plain blade, but enough to where you can put it in the honing guide. Or your other option is just to freehand, So, but I think I like using a honing guide. It gives consistency, and you're not gonna, be at 38 degrees one time and 32 the next. So I use a honing guide all the time. And then, like I said, there's plenty of options for a small blade. This is just a flat. This is flat. So I mean, you're right. They do have. So if you're more into chair making and things like that, they do have both of those options. But this is just a flat bottom spoke shave. So. Yeah, I would think so. But yeah, this is a great little tool for like doing edge work and stuff like that. Now that I've taken it apart, it'll be so fun to get back together. And it's pretty simple to use. It's nice for being on the edges. I have a screwdriver in here. It's great for like chair spindles and things like that, chair legs. It'll get more of the blade going. I mean, you could even if you didn't have a block plane, I mean, you can put like a nice chamfer over the edge, round over the edges. If you ever work with like live edge, and you've got like the bark and stuff like that on there, this is really good. If you're making like a live edge table or something, I'll use that after I've kind of used a chisel and gotten the actual bark off. It's great on the kind of the sapwood areas. It really, you can, because it's kind of nice. The blade can actually be set heavier or lighter on one side, so you can kind of, like I said, you could be working with chair spindles and be like, all right, on the left side I'm taking a heavier cut, on the right side it's a lighter cut. Like I said, with live edge, it's actually really good on live edges in that sapwood area. Once the bark's off, you can kind of really smooth that down, and again, it really precludes, not totally, but in some cases it does preclude the need to sand, so which I'm all for. So. Anyone else? Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for coming tonight. Great meeting. Good chance to celebrate the Guild, and look forward to seeing you at the next meeting. Have a good evening.